I really am excited to really get your perspective as a relationship strategist on
Right.
this topic. So let's just hop in. So for those who aren't familiar with you, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are so they can get to know you a little bit better?
Perfect. Thank you so much. So I am Marshawn Olanio. I am a shift relationship strategist where I help Black Christian women that are married or long-term relationships to stop feeling disconnected and unloved and shift you to feeling heard, understood, and appreciated via my books, my digital courses, as well as my group coaching program that I have for Black women only.
Nice.
One of the reasons why I decided to start the group as well as have this platform, if you will, and with helping women is because a lot of us didn't get the information, the strategies, the tips, the tools, anything that we needed from our parent or guardian. And I noticed that when I was reading books or taking courses of my own, or even asking questions via my exes to figure out why we didn't go to the next level, I noticed that a lot of it was a lack of information that I just didn't have. And so I find whenever I'm coaching someone, I find that they have the same lack of knowledge and even implementation, right? Because some people can have the knowledge, but they don't implement it, which really is null and void. You're not helping your life if you don't take the action. And so I started to do this to help my sisters that look like me specifically to level up themselves first, really, because we have to get our own selves in order and in alignment before, ideally before we jump into our relationships and specifically the marriages. However, most of us of a certain mature age are learning it after the fact. And so I'm helping those who are learning it after the fact, as well as those who are maybe in a breakup, like have gone through a breakup or even gone through a divorce, and now you're starting over again, but you have some history behind you. So that's who I helped. And thank you so much for having me. I'm ready to take a deep dive into this today.
All right. So let's do it. So now, do you think that we are positively or negatively impacted based on how we view the role of a mother or daughter? So our relationships, our everyday relationships are positively or negatively impacted based on how we view those different roles.
Shaquin, I'm actually going to say it depends. And why does it depend? It's because I find that women who are growth minded, right, or for in simpler terms, they're working on themselves, they're taking some type of course, they're always continuously learning. I find that those women, even if they had a bad childhood, that they have a tendency to still see the silver lining, the positivity that came from that. And if they do not like what their parent guardian put out there for them to quote unquote model, then they have the opportunity to switch it up and change it. And if nothing else, they just do the opposite of what they didn't like. And what I also find is that those who were negatively impacted, as well as they are not growth minded, right? They pretty much stay stuck in that cycle on the hamster wheel of being and showing up and even replicating the information, including but not limited to the environment that they grew up in. They pretty much imitate what they saw because it becomes our norm. So it just depends on what spectrum, what side of the spectrum they are on.
Yeah. So it's really a matter of mindset. So you can either just depending on how you looked at it, you can either grow or you can stay stuck and do the same things that you learned.
Absolutely. Yep.
Now, the role of a wife has definitely changed
Yes.
since years past. But what do you think the role of a wife encompasses now?
The role of a wife encompasses some of the same things that has always encompassed, which is being a support system for your husband, being the support system for your child or children. And still to this day, I'm finding that the child or children being the support system is still mainly the woman's job, if you will. And I'm doing air quotes because it depends on the people that are in the relationship, of course. But a lot of men are still stuck in the mindset that the child rearing is still just about 100% the woman. the woman's quote unquote job. And so I do believe that there is some, but I absolutely believe that men should participate more, because research has actually shown that the child or children do better when the dad is more proactive in the life, in the family, than just getting everything from mom, if you will. So I definitely believe that that's there. But the majority of motherhood and being a wife, excuse me, being a wife in the household really comes down to the two people in the relationship, right? Because what works for one couple may not work for the next couple, right? And so
Mhm.
I think that, again, that there are things that are across the board that we need in every relationship, like I said, supporting, right? And then the child or children, but then also the domestic duties, and then how we're setting up our lives so it fits the both of us, right? Because some
Right.
people work separate shifts, so we just have to really figure out what works, but really understanding that the woman, the wife, has the power to create the household and the life that she really wants. Like, we have a really big influence on how our children turn out, as well as the type of spouse that we're choosing, and including how far he goes in his life. And it's not 100%, but we do influence how far our men or husbands and spouses go in their own life, because we are their helpmeets. They are ours as well. Most people don't finish that scripture, but
Mhm.
they are ours as well, right? And so it really does make a difference, specifically for the woman, and understanding how much power she holds in her hand in order for her family life to turn out, including her own.
Yeah, and I posted something today that spoke to that, how you can be empowered or disempowered by the role, because it really is a powerful role. Even when women didn't have the freedom to do some of the things that they're able to do today, that we're able to do today,
Mhm.
there was still that opportunity to influence, to a certain extent. And now we have that even more. So yeah, so it's really not um a role where you have to feel limited. And like you said, you can create um that role. You can really shape it to fit your family dynamics.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So in regards to husband and wife dynamics, so
Hmm.
if the wife, so depending on whether or not she did or didn't see her mother in that role, how do you think that impacts, or what
Okay,
impact?
so I'm sorry. I think that it has a great impact on how she's showing up present day, as her being the wife of her own family now. But again, going back to question one, it also goes back to, if she wants to see something different, than her actually actively taking action on creating a different future for her own family. But absolutely plays a role. And if I see my mom yelling, screaming, fussing, and fighting, 9 times out of 10, I am going to, that's the way that I feel that I should express myself, because that's what I'm accustomed to seeing. But not only that, I also believe that this is the normal, because it has been the normal in my family. So I believe that this is normal, right? And so whether society says that it's normal or not, it's going to be really hard for me to break away from that normal behavior, because that's what I was accustomed to seeing all the time. So, and it doesn't matter what it was, yelling, cussing, fussing, right? Being super negative all the time, or pessimistic, if you will. And then it also can impact them in the positive as way, right? Positive as well, because if your mom or guardian was super optimistic, that is absolutely going to take you so many places in life. However, for my own situation, let me just bring me into it. My mom is pretty pessimistic, but I am like overly optimistic. Oh my, I'm like overly optimistic. I don't know where I got it from, but I'm super happy that I am, because I love to see the glass as half full versus half empty. Even when things are not going well in my life, in the business, growing the business and everything, I still can see the silver lining. I'm like, well, you know what? It didn't go as planned. However, I'm able to speak so much better, with clarity, with confidence. I'm able to lean in. I can see the head nods. I can see this and that. So I'm able to see the silver lining, even though it didn't pan out the way that I really, really wanted it to pan out. We have to find ways to see the positive in any situation. But just bringing it back to the mom and now her being the wife and how she's showing up, it's really the choices that she's making. And by being intentional, to create the life that she wants. And I know I'm totally going to keep saying that because most people don't realize that you are the co-creator of your life. And I say co-creator because I'm a believer, so I'm definitely talking about God, right? And so God and you coupled together, as long as you are walking the path that God has for you, then you are co-creating the life that you want. And literally, the abundance will be there. The abundance will be there. And I'm going down a rabbit hole, but so many people focus on chasing the money. It's not about the money. It's really about the impact and how many people that you can serve. And if you serve them in a great way, then guess what? The money will already follow. It will
Yeah.
follow.
And so in terms of yeah, like you were saying about, you know, a wife and how she sees, because that was gonna be my next question. Is it just a reflection of what she saw, you know, in the home? And 9 times out of 10 it is, and um it takes something within you to say, okay, I want to change this. So like you said, you can either, even if maybe you didn't start out as a person, excuse me, who was, you know, positive, you know what I'm saying? Maybe you were that person who grew up in that pessimistic home, and that's just what you know. But at some point, if you reflect back on yourself and the relationships, or if you're married and you said my marriage is something that's not right, let me look at me. So that's the first thing too that we want to do is in a marriage, look at us and say,
Yes.
what can I do to address my issues, because I have no control over them. So if I can address my issues, you know what I'm saying, that may be the issue and I don't even realize
Shaquinche, you are speaking my language. You speak my
it.
language because I'm telling you, that's exactly what I teach my group of Black women, a small group of Black women. We get together weekly, and I'm really drilling it into them. Uh, it all starts with you. Everything about the way you want your life to be starts with you. The thing is, after we get past fixing ourselves and healing, because a lot of people haven't done that, and I know we're not here to talk about healing, but healing is a big part of why your life is going the way that it's going currently. And it really goes back to every situation: spiritual healing, right? Relationship healing, right? Sibling relationship healing, all of the relationship healing that we need to go through. I already mentioned financial. It's just a lot of healing that needs to take place before we can catapult to the next level in any part of our lives. Any
Yeah,
part of our lives.
totally agree. um in regards to the work environment. So, do you think our perspective on those roles has an effect on us professionally?
I do, but okay. So here's what I keep hearing specifically from Black women, that we have a tendency to code switch. Now, have you heard of code switching before? And it might be called something else, but basically, depending on the environment that you are in, you can
Mm,
adapt to that. So
yes,
if
yes.
I'm around a lot of professional people and we're speaking a certain type of way, I can speak that way, right? If I'm around some of my closest friends, of course I'm gonna be open and free. If I'm around the men on the corner, if you will, I can speak their language too. So we code switch depending on who we are around. But yes, I think that all of that can take a toll on us because a lot of it comes from us trying to survive, because we had to do that and our ancestors had to do that, and it's still prevalent present day, that we're trying to figure out, okay, so I don't know if we're vibing over here, you like me or not. So let I gotta figure out and see what the situation is. I don't know about the brothers over here on the corner. So let me evaluate how can I get in with them. But all of it coupled together is where we're code switching in order to feel safe as well as accepted in these different environments.
Yeah. So, and just to, yeah, that makes sense. And I was speaking to it in a way that I said this to someone else too that I was speaking with, how as a daughter, so I thought a good daughter was you're to be respectful. You're not to, you know, talk to your elders a certain way, say certain things. So as a result of that, when I went into the workplace, I still had that mindset.
Oh, I see. Okay, I'm
That
different.
yeah, that good daughter mindset. So when I should have said things to my older co-workers, I hesitated. Yeah, that's an issue. And like I said, when I was doing this research, I realized, wow, you don't even realize how you see things. Your perspective on things can affect you in a number of ways. And so that's one way that it affected me professionally. So and I'm sure it's impacted me in other ways. I just hadn't really um thought deeper about it. But yeah, so it's definitely, it can affect us
Oh,
um
absolutely.
professionally, even if we don't realize it. So yeah, so it's good to just take some time to reflect on self and work on developing self and doing that thorough self-examination.
Oh, absolutely. But we're missing out on a lot of things, as you just mentioned, really, by just not having the information. We can't implement what we don't know, right?
Sure.
And so it's really continuously learning. And I actually read a book not so long ago, and she was giving some strategies on how to speak up, if you will, in the workplace, how to get your seat at the table, how to ask for a promotion, because most women of color, specifically Black women, were making below the bar. And it's a lot of it is because we feel so appreciated that we were entertained, if you will, for that position, that we just accept the first thing that they say. And we don't realize that our white sisters and brothers are actually negotiating their pay, and they're starting way up here, and we at the very bottom. And then that pay wage gap over years is absolutely impacting how much we can afford to buy and our lifestyles later on. But we're so happy that, yay, I got chosen, if you will, right? Of course, we're not doing that externally, but we're not asking for the things that matter. And in this case, when we're talking about our careers, it really does boil down to maybe the severance package, the insurance and all that stuff, but then mainly it's the pay.
Yeah, so
We're missing
I
out.
mean, yeah, and when you said that, it just made me think, yeah, so on top of that, just being a woman, being a mom, being a daughter, there is that extra layer of being a Black woman as well. That is so much,
Yep.
yeah, that comes with that. Yeah. Well, I certainly appreciate you. I've really enjoyed talking to you as usual. Um, anything you want to say before we close out? I know you have a free gift for these wonderful women who are attending these series. So any final words, or you just want to speak to your free offer?
Yes, I want to say, first of all, show up for yourself. Continue to show up for yourself, sis, because you have the power to create the life that you want, whether it's in your love life, which is specifically what I cater to and who I cater to, but also in your everyday life, how you're showing up. And how we do one thing is how we do everything. And so if you are growth minded and growing in one area, don't stop in just that one area, or you're thriving in that one area, but then every other area around you is lacking. Level up in each area of your life that you know that you need to. And then also, I am loving for you ladies to come and join my free Facebook group. It is specifically catered to Black women, and it is reasons why Black women love themselves and their man. Now, here's the thing, we talk about ourself first as well as relationship advice. So, even if you need self care tips for yourself, to start leveling up, to build your self esteem, to build your confidence, we got that there. If you also need help with becoming a better woman so you can be a better wife or a better girlfriend, we have strategies and tips over there for that as well. So, again, that is reasons why Black women love themselves and their man. Please come and join me today. I would love to have you.